Greetings, this is Stan. A single thought can revolutionize your life, as it did mine. A single thought can make you rich, or it can land you in prison for the rest of your life. Earl Nightingale, one of my heroes. Indeed, single thoughts can change your life. Have you had any single thoughts that changed your life? Perhaps we should think about that and perhaps look for some single thoughts that just might change our life and put us in the place just right, particularly if you're a Christian entrepreneur. Well, we're going to take just a few minutes to think about that today. This is the Christian Entrepreneur Network. My name is Stan Houston. This is the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience, and it begins right now. Indeed, once again, we are back in the midst of an incredibly challenging and changing world. As I pointed out in my program just a few days ago, my world changed a great deal. The whole vision and perhaps the future of broadcasting has changed as this very medium that you're listening to, the podcast phenomenon, could direct things in a whole different way that might be very, very, very beneficial to me and to you, and perhaps not so for many others. And isn't that true, that a lot of things happen that way? What is very, very good for some obviously can be somewhat difficult and challenging, maybe even a calamity for others. And that's the kind of economy and that's the kind of world we live in today. And what we are here for on the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience is to give you perhaps 12 to 20 minutes of some thoughtfulness, maybe some wisdom, insight, and truth, so that you can better meet the marketplace, so that you can become more fully and more friendly and more full of joy alive. At the same time you're doing that, you are building a business that matters and makes a difference for the common good, for the good of your family, and perhaps even for the very glory of God. Now that's a thought. Wouldn't it be nice if I could be more fully alive and I could build my own business, my very own business, that would, in effect, matter, in effect, make a difference, in effect, change my world, and maybe, for the good and the glory of God, change the world. What if you could do that? Well, I subscribe to a guy I usually don't agree with because of what he says and what he does, and sometimes his attitude. But you can learn from people that you don't like sometimes, because they sometimes have some good experiences. Many of you know him. He's very, very well known. He's called Dan Kennedy, and he has a group of people which he calls the No BS Inner Circle, and I will just leave it at that. However, to say that sometimes it's not no. Some of the things he says aren't very bright, and they certainly aren't very right, but that's how he lives and how he does things. And even though I'm not a follower, not even very friendly, but still, from time to time, because all good truth is God's truth, I can even learn something from people I don't particularly care about, or maybe even care for. But the reason I hit today as it came up is he was quoting one of my heroes, Earl Nightingale, and the quote I remembered, and I remembered it all of a sudden. So thank you, Dan, for a good little column called Single Thoughts That Changed My Life. A single thought can revolutionize your life as it did mine. A single thought can make you rich, or it can land you in prison for the rest of your life. Earl Nightingale. Now, those of you who aren't perhaps as sage and at the stage of life that I am may not know, but Earl Nightingale in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was one of the world's premier broadcasters. As the world turns kind of things, this is the way the world is. A little radio program with his deep, deep baritone to bass voice. And he would have motivational and practical and personal growth wisdom that was truly exceptional. In many cases, even spirit-filled, though I'm not so sure Earl even knew the true source of some of the wisdom that came to him. But it was good. Learned a lot from him. One of the thoughts that he had that changed my life profoundly was this. He said, treat every person you meet as the most important person in the world. Treat every person you meet as the most important person in the world. And I first heard that from Earl Nightingale. And I have tried to live that way. And that's one of the things I teach you as my friends and perhaps even followers, is if you want to be successful in life, as an entrepreneur, as just a good human being, and especially if you are a Jesus-following entrepreneur, hey, treat every person you meet as if they are the most important person in the world. Maybe some new and unique and powerful things might happen. Well, if you'll give me just a few minutes, can I do a little more commenting on single thoughts that change the world? And right now, why don't you just say, grab a piece of paper, pick up that napkin, and write down some of the single thoughts that you had that may have changed your world. And hey, maybe if you really got serious about it, it could really change the world, and maybe it could change everything about your life. Single thoughts that can change your life. I'm Stan Houston. The Christian Entrepreneur Network hangs out at tcenglobal.org, tcenglobal.org/contribute now. We are a nonprofit organization seeking to serve you, and if you can help us with a small contribution, a small favor for what we do, we would be grateful. Just a single thought, a single random thought and action of gratitude. We'll be back. Actually, one of the single thoughts that changed the world was when Ray Kroc and a friend saw a little hamburger stand called McDonald's, and he said, we could duplicate that. And it wasn't the McDonald's idea that changed the world. It wasn't even his idea. It was the thought that we can duplicate that. A simple, profound, and eventually a powerful and profitable thought. A single thought. Now, what I'd like to do today is when you start to go through the works of your life, and remember, your success as an entrepreneur is mostly the thoughts that come into your head and then the perspiration and persistence that comes from your brow. That's right. It is good thoughts and ideas as you understand the human condition, see situations and problems that you could solve, and then your thoughts come to you and you incarnate your thought into something that's powerful and purposeful and real and present, and you put that into the world and good things happen. But the good things that happen because you work 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day sometimes, and you work very hard. It is certainly the inspiration, but as someone has said, it's oftentimes mostly the perspiration. And as someone who oftentimes is up at 4 o'clock, at 5 o'clock in the morning and not turning in until 9 or 10 o'clock, I can understand that. And that work-life balance is always a challenge. And to be fully present to our children, grandchildren, our partners, and particularly present to the small, still, silent, but significant voice of God. I try to do that every morning. Just say, God, I'll read your stuff, and now I want to hear you speak. And then I speak, and I tell him, essentially, what I would like, what my heart, mind, and desires are, and the help that I think I need. And part of that happened today. Went through a situation, and my wife brought this to me. And remember my talk from last time on Monday from Griffin. Remember, a new name for God is an old name. He is Providence. Providence. And He will protect and He will provide. And so I claim that significant little thought. I said to Karen, I said, our God is Providence. Don't worry. He will protect and He will provide. Our God's name is Providence, and He will protect and He will provide. Hey, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a notebook, and I want you to think about some of your encounters, and in fact, some of the things that you oftentimes hear me say. Fear kills everything. A profound thought. Treat every person you meet as if they're the most important person in the world. It all comes down to energy. You are hardwired for service. You have only one entitlement in life. You are entitled to serve others. I am fully responsible for my destiny and where I am. And then the paradox. I am fully dependent on the grace of God for where I am and the situations that I seek. Here's the deal. I want you to think about some of the single thoughts that could change your life if you would take thought into action, contemplation into action, and perhaps some of the thoughts that have already changed your life that you need to revisit. Perhaps you need to go back and find some of those and re-energize them in your thinking. And then maybe you ought to listen to others and listen to God. And you go about your day doing your work, but saying, God, I need thoughts. I need thoughts that will change my life and change my destiny. Please send a few to me today. And then perhaps be quiet and listen. I'd love to hear from you because I'm going to ask you to join me. RadioEdge77@gmail.com, RadioEdge77@gmail.com. This is the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience from Radio on the Edge studio on Route 77 in Tucson, Arizona. Coming your way on the World Wide Web. We're here to support you and help you so that you can be a powerful, focused, and effective Christian entrepreneur. We'll be back. Here's the thought I have for you. It came to me because along with the Christian Entrepreneur Network, which is, as we said, a nonprofit organization that provides this program to you, and we'd appreciate your help and your contributions, both to help us make it happen, and then perhaps because you said that was good stuff, I ought to pay back some of the good stuff I hear. Again, tcenglobal.org/contribute now, tcenglobal.org/contribute now. And Also, while you're perhaps in touch and in tune, you'll raise your hand and say, Stan, I have some significant thoughts that I'd like to share with you and your worldwide internet radio podcast audience. Today, I told a man that he is now doing most of his life of things he has to do, and he said yes. And I said, and as a faithful servant of God, you're doing them well. And he said, thank you, Stan. And I said, now I'm going to help you do something you would love to do. I know that in your mentoring, in your teaching, in your guiding, and in the career work you did, and in your following the Lord Jesus, you have some significant things. And I would like you to start creating a podcast for you and your organization. I want you to do just exactly what I can help you do. You've got a lot of stuff inside of you, and we're going to make it possible for you to be on worldwide radio, worldwide web radio, doing just exactly what I'm doing. And the way the world is working, your internet podcast could be heard by, and this is not an exaggeration, millions and millions of people. One podcast platform has 500 million subscribers. The new Spotify podcast program holder has 190 million subscribers, and that's just two of them. And all of those people have access to you. Here's what I'm going to ask you to think about. Here's a significant thought. Here is a part of what my life purpose is now. I want to help you, as a follower of the Lord Jesus, who are seeking and discovering God's special wisdom, insight, and truth. God's special wisdom, insight, and truth. God's special strength and direction. I want you to share that on the radio around the world. That's my ongoing single thought mission. I want to make it possible for God's special people, those who follow Him, that have chosen Him, and He has chosen you, to share your special wisdom, insight, and truth with as many as you can on the independent, on-demand radio called podcasting. And you don't have to do very, very much in terms of finances to do that. And we want to make it possible for you to do just that. Once again, this is what I want. My single thought is I want God's special people to share God's special wisdom, insight, and truth with people around the world. And I want one of them to be you. I'm Stan Houston. I can help you. Okay. I asked for you to make a commitment. Raise your hand. RadioEdge77@gmail.com. RadioEdge77@gmail.com. And you can join me. You can be on the program here. And then you can start to do your own program right there, wherever you are. And you can share what is important. There you go. That's a single thought that has changed my life right now. And you know what? It could change yours right now, too. All the best and blessings. We try and wind this up within 20 minutes. And that is what we have done. Again, let me know. Find me at tcenglobal.org. Help me at tcenglobal.org/contribute now. And RadioEdge77@gmail.com. Let's talk about changing our world and doing it together.